Hey everyone, it's Brad and Josh here, and we welcome you to We'll Bring the Popcorn, the ultimate film and TV podcast.
Today we're going to be reviewing the new horror movie, Him.
So originally this week we were planning on reviewing A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey as well, but due to some life and scheduling issues and stuff, we weren't able to get around to that film, but we do have our review for Him. Him is a football-based horror film. It all revolves around this made-up league called the USFF that Isaiah White, played by Marlon Wayans, is the star. Like, he has been just dominating the league for so many years, but he's getting close to retirement age, and Cam is the up-and-coming rising quarterback star, but there's a lot of dark and twisted things that go on in this, and this film does rely heavily on symbolism and kind of looking at the darker elements of fame and football and what people will do to put themselves into a position to be the GOAT, to be the best, and what they're willing to sacrifice and do. But I've got to admit, this film was really weird and strange to me. Like, I get a lot of the deeper meanings they were trying to do, but that doesn't always necessarily mean it's an entertaining film because they went that way.
Yeah, there's so many places where this movie really feels like it missed the mark for me, too. Like, I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to play up this... The horror aspect of it is where it kind of loses me, because like you could have had like a suspense. This is more of a suspense thriller than it is really horror, but I kind of get why they throw the horror label on it. Now, Justin Tipping, I didn't really understand his vision for it, and obviously this film gets a lot more attention because they throw Jordan Peele on it as a producer, who I don't know how much hand he had in the making of this film, but you could tell it's not really a Jordan Peele-esque movie. It is in some ways, like just in stylistic wise, but this is all Justin Tipping's vision here, and it misses the mark on so many things. Like, I do want to give credit where it's due. Marlon Wayans does give a fine performance in this film.
It's probably the best performance we've seen him, because he has mostly done over-the-top comedies.
Yeah, and that's what you're used to seeing him in, and here he plays more of this dark, twisted mind star quarterback who's still like on the fence on whether or not he wants to retire, and this whole thing centers around a test to see if Cam is the right person to take up the mantle from him as the next GOAT, right? And then, like you said, they dive into all these sort of symbolistic, almost like satanic, ritualistic type things that like they sensationalizes what is necessary to become given the gift of being the GOAT. It's all centered around like this supernaturally given gift that's given to just one person who can only be the GOAT, or whoever is the next GOAT. And it's just really out there. Like, that's the best way I could choose it. It's just really out there, and it just misses the mark on so many levels for me. Like I said, I see what they're trying to do with it, but it just didn't connect with me. I didn't feel connected to this at all. Tyreek Withers was okay as Cam, but I felt he was very stilted and robotic and not really, like, I don't know. It was hard to have a huge believability in him as a character. Like, physically he looks like he could be a quarterback, but I don't know, there was just something in the way that character came off that just felt very stiff and robotic to me. And it's not necessarily the fault of the actor necessarily, but I just don't think they do a good enough job of digging into his potential desperation to be the GOAT, other than the fact that he idolized this guy and he's supposedly a brilliantly gifted athlete.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because he's kind of given less of an arc than Marlon's character was, because we get to see more levels and fluctuations in Isaiah, and Cam it's pretty straightforward with him, because almost every film, you want to have someone you can cheer for and someone you can cheer against, but Cam never really gives you much. Like, you get in the beginning, his dad was really hard on him because this is going to another symbolism, and just look at football from, the outside view of, like, especially like high school sports in Texas and other way around, of how harsh you can see parents being to their boys, to like, you are going to be a football star, you're going to do this, whip yourself into shape. And so, he kind of had a rough relationship with his dad because you get a little bit of a touching moment there, but then, like, once we get to the adult Cam, you kind of don't connect with him that well. Like, you get that This all kind of starts and revolves around him being attacked by what looks like a mascot. And he gets a brain injury, but the combine is right there. So they have to decide if, he's going to participate in the combine. He's there, but then his brother decides, I'm going to give you a haircut right where your staples are and stuff like that. Like it makes some really weird choices with that. But yeah, you never really felt connected to Cam because right away, because of that, like he goes to the compound, lets his brother give him a haircut when he has a brain injury, and he didn't need a haircut. His head is shaved. But then he decides not to participate in the combine, which a lot of star, football players do. But then he goes out and drinking and doing drugs and everything else, right? Instead of doing the combine, it's like, well, you're trying to hype up that he's got this severe brain injury, a cracked skull, but he's going to go out and party instead of doing the like you instantly already kind of, at least me, I fell off of like, really, okay, he's just going to be this type of guy. And then, again, college guys, you're going to have that stuff happening, but you started off trying to give us something to connect with him, and then it kind of just like faded away that his character became really questionable with a lot of things because it tries to talk up of how much he's committed to his girlfriend and stuff, and that's thrown out the window like really quickly, and it just gets really odd with I would almost call it, for better lack of term, an art house type of horror film, because it tries to do some really funky things with the camera work, but it didn't really work for me. As you mentioned, like the big one that stuck out to me at the beginning, because Isaiah lives out in the middle of the desert. So you get a scene of, I think it was a Land Rover driving down a desert road, and it looks like it's driving very slow. And then it cuts to a camera view on the other side of the road, really shaky, bringing up like high music and a fast pace to it. And then it cuts back to the car driving really slowly. Then it cuts back to it again. It's like, it was just those cuts when it did these really weird artistic type of camera shots. It didn't work for me.
Yeah, and a few other things, if I could nitpick with some of it, like they try to symbolically show these rabid fans of Isaiah.
Like a cult.
Or like a almost cult, and I get the symbolism, right, of like idolizing athletes and all that other stuff, but they brought them across as like these Mad Max type. It was just really weird, weird how they were portraying these like fanatics, especially the one who is played. I forget the actress's name, but she was the first person to have like a repeated character in American Horror Story. Like that was the lady that played the like super fanatic, the obsessed one that tries to attack Cam in the sauna at that one point, and like it's such a weird thing there. And the one thing that really bothers me, and I don't know why it bothers me, because it's such a technical, silly thing in my opinion, but if this team that is trying to evaluate Cam is the San Antonio Saviors is the name of the team, but they're evaluating Cam, but they're coming off of a championship win. If you know anything about pro football and the way the draft works, like a team that wins a championship is not going to have access to a caliber of a talent like Cam is supposed to be, who should be like in contention for the first overall pick. But if you're the champions, you don't get the first overall pick. So having access to a player, like it's a stupid sports thing. In my brain.
They get into that a little bit of how they would have access to him, but it was just kind of just too easy.
It bothered me. I don't know why. Like I said, it's just a silly, stupid sports thing that just sits in the back of my brain when I was watching that. I was like, that's not plausible. It's like the best team in the league never gets the first pick. It's not the point of the draft. But that's I don't know why that stuck with me while we were doing it. But yeah, like this, it's so many misses. Like it artistically, like the way it's shot is fine. I would say, like stylistically, I don't have issues with that. It's just the context of the story and how things are trying to flow together. Like you said, there's no redemptive qualities here for anyone in this movie. Nobody, which, okay, you could argue could be the point.
Other than maybe his mom.
Yeah, I mean, his mom seems like your classic, like, mom of an athlete who just supports her child no matter what, and she really cares about his well-being. But even then, it's like, why didn't you assert yourself more when he was trying to go out and do these things when he had this concussion and you weren't like, I know the overprotective moms would be like, no, nobody gets near my kid. Like, you're not gonna, force him to do this against his will. I don't know. It didn't play that up well enough for me either. But it's just, I don't know, man. This film was just such a hot mess, man. It really was.
Yeah, it's like I mentioned, like it starts off with the combine or main stuff with Cam. They said he's going to go to the combine to show off his skills, which for a quarterback is mostly throwing routes and stuff like that. You can have different things that they do and stuff, but most of it should be low contact to any contact at all. Like they're not, defensive linemen, offensive linemen, they may be hitting dummies and other stuff like that. A quarterback's not going to be getting hit or hitting anybody, but he decides not to do it. But then he immediately goes for a week of training with Isaiah where he's going full contact. Yeah. And it's like I get, again, we say there's so much symbolism and stuff. It's all about what players put their bodies through when it comes from drugs and alcohol and injections and steroids and, women and pressure and money and what they're willing to sign off on and do. And I get what they were trying to do there, but you didn't really it tried to go a little too artsy with what it was trying 100%. To do. And because Isaiah's compound out in the desert was weird. I mean, it looked like in one part he walked in, it looked like the back tunnels of a football stadium, but it looked like a bunker. And it was also had round doors and square doors, rectangles, and it was just really weird architecture through the whole thing. And you had just a lot of weirdness to it. It looked like and maybe it was supposed to look like a supervillain's lair out in the middle of the desert. And maybe that was some of the more symbolism that you're supposed to have, that, Isaiah's not as good as you want to believe, and you get into the darker, more mysterious elements, like you said, with the satanic, demonic type of stuff. And they do try to put in plenty of jump scares and people popping out of places and other stuff like that. But it was just weird. And even the ending left you like, okay, what? I kind of get what Cam and what Isaiah and what all the characters were doing towards the end, but then it also still left me like, okay, what was the point of what I just watched on his journey and the journey of these characters? What were we left with but more head-scratching questions of what does this all mean?
Right, and it left it very ambiguous as far as what's going to happen next, because there's a very definitive conclusion at the end of it, but it's just what happens to Cam now? What is the future of Cam? Is that just meant to be a thing? Is this something that they're hoping to go back and revisit at some point? I don't know, but even as just a one-off movie, it's just so strange. It was done. It was the way it feels to me is they tried to make an artistic movie about football made by people who don't completely understand football. Some of the football elements in it are fine. You see him going through and doing similar things that quarterbacks do during training, like the blind turning and quick read, make your throws, and all this other stuff that they do. But it gets even more brutal and weird and just overly aggressively violent for no reason. The scene where he's doing the training and he's got the one guy off to the side with the jugs machine, and just that brutality there. And then the weird way that they shoot the one scene, and this is just a little minor spoilery thing, but the one scene where the dude tries to run at him and hit him, make a helmet-to-helmet hit on him as a quarterback. It looks like it's Isaiah taking the brunt of that, and then you flip it, and it's just him all of a sudden magically toughening up and dishing it out to this dude, and it hurts him really, really badly.
Even though he has
Even though he's the one with the severe concussion and the brain injury and the crack in the skull, but he toughed it out, and he just took this guy, and I'm just like...
And again, I get that symbolism there about players toughing out injury. You've seen guys who've gotten cast on their wrists that are wrecking balls and playing through it, but doesn't mean it works for them in a movie trying to make that into a symbolic, artistic kind of way with it. And I was confused on that scene because it goes into this x-ray view, which you've seen in the trailer.
Sure.
And it's okay, he is hurt bad. And then it goes out of the x-ray and it's wait, they were this way, but they flipped the camera, so it's this way.
Like a
and
gotcha.
You're it was like a gotcha moment, but it was more what?
Why?
Yeah.
You really thought it was going to be hey, you've taking this hit. What's going to happen when you take it in and you get knocked down? Can you get back up again? Like that kind of thing. That's what I thought they were trying to do with it. And then you come back and it's the other guy that's down, and they do this weird like song and dance routine over the body of this guy who's twitching on the ground and all this other weird stuff. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. Like, what is it? Like, don't get me wrong. Stylistically, like some of those types of scenes where it like gets into that different like visual type stuff, like with the x-rays and stuff. And then like the fight towards the end where it kind of cuts out of looking like two guys fighting and more like two images, like almost like CAT scan images of two people fighting. Like that stylistically looked pretty cool. Like I'll give them credit for that, but it's just missing on execution on so many levels of this film that it was frustrating because I really, really wanted to go in liking this. I'm like, oh, this has potential to be really good. And I'm just left with so much to be desired out of it. Like just so many like nitpicky things you can do with this film. And it's a shame because I really think, like I said, I feel like Marlon Wayans' best performance is kind of wasted in a little bit of a slog in this film. And he's really solid in this movie. Like if I give it any type of bright spot, it's Marlon Wayans is this guy who is willing to do whatever it takes through many different means necessary to hold on to his legacy. And you see him kind of coming to grips with the fact that his time on the field is running out and he's got to eventually give that up. And he's like, I still got a little bit of that fight in him. He's got to earn it. He's got to take it from me. Like he's like, he can't just have it. Like I get that. And that was fine. Like that was probably the finest part of the film, but man, just so much of the other stuff, like just throughout this movie was just a mess.
Yeah. I'll say Marlon was what really carried this film. Like he gave a really solid, layered, tortured type of performance, which you could have probably done this without the horror aspects and gone to a dark drama and could have see, because I am so mixed on the artistic stuff, because it's sometimes the artistic scenes, as you mentioned, like towards the end when someone's like CAT scan type of stuff, it was neat and interesting and it looked good visually and cinematography wise at many times, but then there was those weird artistic cuts that just really felt strange and odd and just like cuts. There's nobody you really like in this film. Like you somewhat like Isaiah until you start getting into the darker stuff, but there's so much weirdness behind it. Because like the first time when Cam walks in to the compound, you know, Isaiah's working on some skulls of animals and stuff, but it never really went back to any of that kind of thing. It just kind of used it as a horror shock moment. Oh, he's got all these animal skulls and he's working on them and you're having to help him with it. And then they completely go away from kind of that aspect. And I get maybe it's supposed to be more symbolism of, you know, animals that are mascots of the football teams and stuff like that. And I think it also hurt, at least, you know, if you're a football fan, I think you can find a little enjoyment out of it and it's going to really differ on that. But at the same time, I think there's some that's going to be like, because I was the same, like when you don't have the NFL and you're trying to put off that this USFF league is the top league and the top, but we have minor league and just rougher arena football leagues and stuff that has this like almost the same name and almost the presentation of the games almost look like lower. So we're trying to believe that all of this dark, satanic, ridiculous pressure type of stuff is happening in what feels like a minor league XFL offshoot type of league. And that was kind of hard for me to connect with it because that name just felt like a XFL type of league and not like the NFL.
Sure, and I get it. You kind of work with what you have there. So this is kind of presented like it is the NFL, like it is the end-all, be-all, because you got the world championships and you've got all this other stuff. And it just, like I said, it just missed on so many things for me. Like it just, I had trouble caring about any of these characters by the end of it. You had Isaiah White's wife, who was played by Julia Fox, is like this weird, eccentric, like influencer-ish type of wife who is very complicit in a lot of the things that are going on. And
I don't want to be rude about the actress or anything else, but I felt like White Chicks when I was watching her because of her look and her outfit and her makeup was so like just over the top. I felt like I was watching another Wayans production in White Chicks of that. Like her look was so off kilter
Like
to
ghoulish.
everything else. It's ghoulish, kind of like too much makeup, but just it was just strange. Her look,
and that's the artistic point, Brad. That's what
I
they're
know.
going for, and it's just, I don't know. It felt very pretentious
Mm-hmm.
like, in a lot of ways. It's just like, okay, we get it. Like this is a stylistic take on evil rich corporations, you know, holding on to power, and you know these superstar athletes who just do literally whatever it takes to stay on top and just making impossible immoral decisions, and like these guys couldn't possibly be good people, and it just felt so off to me. Like it felt very, it's almost like if you took somebody who had some tangible knowledge of football but was also like a huge conspiracy theorist, and they'd made a movie out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what it felt like watching it for me. I've been thinking about it this entire time we're talking about it. This is the best way to sum it up. And I feel like that's kind of how it feels. It's just like somebody who thinks they know, like, oh, this rich consortium of powerful people are just the most evil people on the planet. And they're, you know, making this unholy sacrifice to have the goat on their team and all this other stuff. And it was just weird symbolism that just, for whatever reason, it's just not my bag, not my thing, not something I'm really into. I'm all about a good artistic film when it's necessary and when it tells a good, solid, cohesive story, and I just don't feel like we got that out of this.
Yeah, and like I said, I can do artistic as well, but it just really feels like I get the symbolism. I get what they're trying to say about all these different aspects of fame and pro sports and what athletes will go through and what owners and stuff will go through, but it took it to a level that was just so extreme that you didn't really care about anyone or anything that was going on towards the end, because it didn't really make you feel good about it. The only one I really felt much sympathy towards through this entire movie was the doctor.
Yeah.
But there was also some ridiculous lines with the doctor and stuff. He's like, he sits down to have a heart-to-heart with Cam about stuff, like privately, because you know, Isaiah has control and run over everything, and they're just like, this is a very minor spoiler, but he's just like, I don't see my wife, I don't see my kids. He's like, oh, how many kids do you have? Oh, I don't have kids.
Right.
You're trying to have this heart-to-heart, and you bring up that you never see your kids, and then you say, oh, I don't have kids.
He just talks about the sacrifice that it takes to be this full-time doctor to this superstar, and he's played by Jim Jeffries, by the way, who is a pretty famous stand-up comedian who does a fine job in this. And I agree, he's one of the other bright spots in this movie too. Just talking about this guy who feels almost kind of trapped as the doctor and feels this pressure to take care of him and do whatever he needs, sacrificing his time or nothing to give this guy the 24-hour-a-day care that he needs to have his ability to be the peak performer that he is. And it's just more symbolism on top of more symbolism on top of more symbolism, and just kind of beats you over the head with it, and not in a good way either. Like it's just, I don't know. It was so frustrating to watch this movie, because you see the potential in it, and you're like, oh, they got the potential to tell a really good story. And in football terms, they fumbled, in my opinion. They really did. Like this could have been a big hit, and I have the feeling that it's not going to do as well. I know our theater had 5 people in it when we went and saw it on the first night it was available to be seen, and that's doesn't bode well for this film that is already feels like it's getting panned by a lot of people. I don't take that into consideration when I see these movies anyway, but this unfortunately feels like one of those situations where it's kind of right, in my opinion, to see some of the people who just are tearing this movie to shreds, and I kind of see why after seeing it now.
Yeah, so unfortunately, him tries to be this artistic horror, symbolic football film. It does have a fantastic performance of Marlon Wayans, probably one of the best he has, but it really loses itself in just trying to beat you over the head with its stylization, its artistic, its symbolism. It just tries to force it down your throat while really not giving us characters that we really care about, or a story that makes a ton of sense. Like, we get what the symbolism and other stuff was for, but it doesn't mean it made for a good movie. I'm giving this, and it's probably generous, a 5, and that might be pretty generous on it. Mostly be for Marlon's performance, because he did a solid job, but there's in the end, not a whole lot that I really liked or took out of this film. And it's probably not one. It was one that had me thinking, I kind of need to rewatch this to see exactly what in the world was going on. But then at the same point, like, I don't know if I ever want to revisit this film again.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 4.5, and that's solely because of the performance of Marlon Wayans and a little bit from Jim Jeffries. I think Jim Jeffries did a fine job as the doctor in this as well, but it just was a complete miss for me. Like I said, the symbolism, as you noted, the artistic way they try to tell this story, and it just felt like there was no cohesion throughout the whole thing. It was just like, oh, you're going out to do this training, but there were so many like logical flaws in this that just, I don't know, for the sports fan in me really had a tough time turning my brain off to a lot of these things. And I guess this might not mean that it's a movie really for me or meant to be filmed and presented to somebody like me who has such a deep appreciation for sports and dives into more of the in and outs of, everyday sports and things that happen there. But it was just a huge miss for me, and it's really unfortunate because I really wanted to go into this watching it. There's a lot of misconception out there that this is a Jordan Peele movie. Make no mistake, Jordan Peele is attached as a producer, but this is a Justin Tippin film, not a Jordan Peele movie. So if you're going in expecting something like Us or Nope or one of those types of films, this isn't necessarily that. It's stylistically somewhat similar, but missing some of that substance that made movies that Jordan Peele actually directs so special and standing out in the field of horror. But this one is just a complete miss in my opinion.
Yeah, like I came into it hoping that it would be something solid and good, and we haven't really done very many thriller horror type of football films and stuff like that. We've done plenty of dramas and everything like that, like Any Given Sunday and others in that vein. But yeah, it just felt like it almost felt like it was trying too hard to be artistic and symbolic than really giving us at least one character that we really cared about or rooted for or anything, because by the end, just about every character, you're like, yeah, I pretty much hate everybody in this movie. There's nobody who really has redeemable qualities at the end of this, and maybe that's also the point and symbolistic of just how there's no good in when it comes to this. But it just felt like it was trying too hard to really try to get their message across of, like you said, almost conspiracy. I mean, we know there's some dark stuff, and we've seen there's dark stuff that's gone through all pro sports, from drugs and alcohol and murder violence, and everything else, and what guys have pushed their bodies through. But it did just feel like it was trying way too hard. Yeah,
and that's unfortunate. It almost feels like it was made by somebody who hates sports. It kind of feels that way, you know what I mean? It's just like just portraying athletes in such a bad way that this is like a little too over the top for my taste. And like I said, it's you said potentially going back and revisiting it. I've seen it once. I think that's enough for me. I don't really feel the desire to go back and visit this again, and that's unfortunate because, like you said, we really want to root for these movies to do well, but just sometimes it's just not a movie that connects with me personally. And I've seen it, we've talked about it, and I'm ready to kind of just move past it and move on to the next thing, because this one it wasn't it for me, man. And I'm sad about that because, like I said, the subject matter and the style of the film, I'm like, all right, now we're talking. We got this horror sports movie. You got Jordan Peele tangentially attached to it. Like, this has got the potential to be really solid, and it just wasn't it for me, man. I really wanted to like it, but I was really let down by this.
Yeah, the only reason I really said I would want to go back and rewatch is because what did I just watch? Was the reason, like, do I need to rewatch this to figure out what in the world it was doing and what it was about? Or is it just like, in the end, I really don't care and I don't want to watch it again. It just left me confused.
Full transparency, this might have been, outside of seeing Madam Web, the quickest you and I have left a movie theater when we were done. We're like, yep, that's done. I don't care if there's an end credit scene or anything in mid credits. Could there be one? I still haven't even looked to see. I doubt it, but you never know. If there is one, let us know, and we'll look into it. But yeah, we were just like, all right, end credits, we're done. All right, let's go. Let's move on. Let's get out of here and let's go on to the next thing. And that kind of speaks to the overall way that we feel about this film, which, like I said, is unfortunate. But him is in theaters now. If you want to give it a chance, check it out. If you think about it and you think we're missing the point, please come tell us in the YouTube comments. The internet loves telling us when we miss the mark on something sometimes. So if we're missing it, if there's something that's flying over our heads and we're just two big dummies here sitting here talking about movies and just don't get it, let us know. We'd love to have that conversation with you.
Yeah, this is one I definitely feel is going to be a very, very mixed reaction to it. You're going to, with anything, you're going to find a group that probably loves it and really felt like the artistic expression and the symbolism really spoke to them about it. But I don't know if that's going to be the non-football fans or if that's going to be
interesting.
Somewhere in the range, because I mean, sports fans can be so all over the place because you can be the fair weather, you can be a casual viewer, you can be the hardcore, but there's still like so much in the middle and stuff as well. But I feel like this one is going to have a lot of different polarizing opinions on it. From looking around, I think most of the opinions out there do revolve around kind of how we felt, but I think this one is really going to be one that's very mixed on how people feel about it. And that's unfortunate. We went in hoping that it was going to give us something solid, interesting, and good when it comes to trying to do a football horror thriller. But yeah, it just missed the mark so badly.
Yeah, I was excited to come in and hopefully like rave about this film on this podcast episode and, just have glowing things and nothing but praise to say about it. I finally got a football film in this genre. Like we said, you've seen comedy done well, you've seen drama done outstanding as well, and we were ready for that horror element, and this just wasn't it. Like I could see other types of horror films doing well with this subject matter, but this was just a total mess, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, this has been another solid year for horror between Sinners and Weapons. 28 years later.
Just a whole bunch.
There's been quite a few of really solid, good horror films, which you can also say many of those have a lot of artistic, different expression, symbolism, and stuff to them as well. But they just handled it much better, which is just unfortunate. We don't want to rag on it, but we're going to be honest that it just was something that did not connect with us at all.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. But we have that from time to time. It's not going to make either one of our end of year list, unfortunately. But if we do choose to go the negative route and talk about some of the worst movies of the year that we've seen, this is going to wind up on our list. You see how we rate things? Sometimes they like to say we rate things a little too favorably sometimes or a little too generous. Not the case on this one. This one definitely was not what we were hoping for, and we're very disappointed by it.
I even said my 5 was being generous just because of Marlon's performance, and there was some well-filmed shots, cinematography, and visually that looked well, but there was just so much that just went off and wrong.
It didn't help.
Through just the look of the compound, the crazy cult, the really weird quick shots with the fast pace that jumped back to something that was just didn't really feel like it connected on that. But yeah, it was unfortunate that it ended up being just kind of so rough.
Yeah, and hopefully, moving on, we got some good stuff coming up in the next week too that I'm excited to check out, including a film that you and I have seen trailers for what feels like 8 to 10 months for this film to finally come out. But it's done by a director who we both love and enjoy, and just early things I've heard buzzworthy about this film just has me even more amped up and excited to check it out. I'm excited to see the two things that we've got coming up this week.
Yeah, as Josh mentioned, coming up, we have Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another, which I know we've had a little bit of discussion about it because the first trailer they put out was very comedic and slapsticky and over the top, and it looked interesting, but we were both kind of left like, we know this is Paul, and we know his films and what he does with it, but then like every trailer after that has been much more, it's got a little bit of the humor, but it's got much more of the darker, grittier action family, so they really switched up the marketing on it after that first trailer, so I don't know if there was some rough feedback or something else after that, but like the marketing when it started to where it's ending is almost night and day.
Yeah, it shifted heavily, but I'm a big Paul Thomas Anderson fan. I love so many of his films that I'm really excited for this one. I mean, you throw Leonardo DiCaprio as a lead in this, it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. We'll also be reviewing the 4-episode miniseries for Marvel Zombies. So we've got that What If episode, which of course is based off of the Zombies comic book runs that they've done of turning your heroes and villains into zombies. They made it into a TVMA very violent, gory, gritty 4-episode special, which we're really looking forward to see what they end up doing with this, because it's going to be one of the first real rated R type of thing that they're doing, the first TVMA, other than, you got Daredevil Born Again, which is TVMA. So they're really embracing the darker, grittier side of the Marvel Universe.
I think it's probably giving thanks to the fact that Deadpool and Wolverine was as solid of a hit as it was, going into that hard R, heavy, violent, over-the-top type stuff. The trailer for Marvel Zombies looks awesome. It's got so many people buzzing about it. I cannot wait to finally check out these episodes. All 4 episodes are coming out at once, and I'm excited to dive into those and talk about it. I'm hoping that it's really, really good, but just from the trailers that we've seen so far, I'm very excited about what's to come out of that.
Yeah, and we're getting it earlier because originally it was supposed to be about the second week of October. Now we're getting it at the end of September. So
moved it up.
Hopefully that means a good thing that they moved it up for everyone to see and have it to maybe watch over and over again before Halloween and stuff. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
To find all of the episodes of We'll Bring the Popcorn, go to our YouTube page, hit the like and subscription button so you're getting our episodes when they drop each and every Monday. If you're listening to us in the audio room on any of the podcasting platforms that we're on, please don't forget to give us a 5-star review. It really helps elevate the profile of the show. And don't forget to go to willbringthepopcorn.com, where it has all of our archive videos, all of our social media information, as well as our merch store, so you continue to support the show in that way. We cannot thank you enough for your continued support.